The last part of the last aspect we will cover in resource management is the use of professional practices groups to effectively manage and discharge the duties over the financial over the internal audit team. The some large organizations have moved toward the development of uh, of provincial practices group. What are these groups? These groups are responsible for smoothing the operation of internal audit function. This group consists of combination of roles needed by the internal audit function, but they are typically include a directors or a management level position and analyst, depending on the size of the function. This group responsible, as I told you, that to smooth the operation of the internal audit function and also to serve as a centralized team that manage the needs of the internal audit function that otherwise would take time from the internal audit assurance work if performed by auditors in the function. This is the 10 aspects that need to be considered when managing the resources, which must be done after immediately the planning and prior to the start of the upcoming year. Now we will move to policies and procedures. The standard regarding the implementation of policies and procedures simply stated that the chief audit executive must establish policies and procedure to guide the internal audit activity. So we need policies and procedure to manage the internal audit team. Like, for example, how to auditors communicate within how to auditors within the internal audit team communicate, how to employee communicate, how we hire people. We need policies and procedures for that, and how we, for example, accept engagement, how we decide which engagement we will cover, how we will decide which how we will audit some engagement. So we need to have procedure and policies to manage the team. The practices adversary number 2040, which it says here, it said an adversary. It's not a standard that covers policies and procedure recommended to keep them consist with the size of the internal audit function. It gives us some guidance that the chief audit executive, he or she is the one who develops the policies and procedure. Formal and administrative and technical audit manual may not be needed by all the internal audit activities. So the technicals manuals, we do not need them in all the activities. Small, if the activity or the function is small, may be managed informally. We do not need an informal way, or we do not need a formal way. So may be managed informally. Its audit staff may be directed and controlled through daily and close supervision, and in the memos that are given to the employee or that staff daily, through that we can state what policies and procedures need to be followed. However, large internal audit activities need to be more formal, and because the close supervision, it's harder to be done in large internal audit activity compared to a small internal activity. So in larger internal audit activities, we need more formal and comprehensive policies and procedure. And these formal policies procedure are essential to guide the internal audit staff in the execution of the internal audit plan. Coordinating the assurance effort. So not the only one who provide the organization assurance is the internal auditor. There is many employee inside and outside the internal audit function who provide assurance to the organization. If you remember, if we can call the 3 line of defense we covered in the governance chapter, these 3 line of defense, 2 of them are inside the organization, and the third one is the internal audit. All of these 3 levels provide the organization with assurance. Also, the internal audit provide assurance in all aspects of the organization, and the external auditors provide assurance about the internal control over financial reporting. So these similar activities, like the managers will assist the control, and the senior management will supervise the manager or the first line manager while he or she evaluate the control. Also, the internal auditors will evaluate how management evaluate or how management manage the internal control, and the external auditors will look at a specific control over financial reporting. So if each one of these ignore the other work done by the others, will be duplications of work. That's why we need to have coordinations assuring efforts. So coordinating the efforts of the internal audit function with those of others providers important because we do not have duplication. We need to increase the effectiveness and efficiency use of resources. How the coordinating is done? For example, in a smaller and less regulated organization, coordinating effort can be less formal to gain the desire of effectiveness. However, if the organization is large and heavily regulated, the regulation of the organization is high, so the coordination's effort can be formal, or it's best to be formal, and need to be involved in a formal way. Okay, let's move to the next subject on our chapter that talks about reporting to the board and the senior management. The Chief Audit Executive. The Chief Audit Executive, or the CAE, again, who is responsible to manage the audit function, has the responsibility to report periodically to senior management and the board on the internal audit activities, purpose, and internal audit activities authority and responsibility, and the performance related to its plan. So in a short way, the Chief Audit Executive must update the senior management and the board of directors. The reporting must include significant risk exposure. If we have any control issues, if we have fraud risk, if we have any governance issues, or any other matters that need or required senior management and the board attention. The Chief Audit Executive need to evidence the completion of professional responsibility by periodically reporting the result of the ongoing internal audit activity. he needed to report this periodic updating or periodic reporting to the senior management and the audit committee, and these need to be done during scheduled meeting and routinely scheduled meeting throughout the year. Significant deviation from the approved engagement work schedule or the staff planning or the financial budget or and the reason behind these definitions and the action taken or the response taken to this deviation also should be reported. This is what the practice advisory to 2060 stated. Additionally, the management of the organization and the chief audit executive need to coordinate their efforts so they routinely report on virus risk and control activities provided by either the management or the chief audit executive in according with the rules and responsibility set by the board or the audit committee. And in addition to this information, a report is typically submitted to the audit committee by either a senior management or the chief audit executive. This report will outline what result management have. So the report that is submitted by either senior management or the chief audit executive, it will state what or how management assess itself regarding the design adequacy and the operation effectiveness of the organization internal controls. At minimum, internal auditors need to independently assess the process that the management undertake to reach that conclusion. So the management will have a conclusion, and this conclusion will be reported by either and then the internal auditors separately will have or will independently assess that report. However, some chief audit executive add some responsibility to their shoulder. They give opinion on the organization. They also give an opinion on the organization system of internal control over financial reporting. This opinion is delivered to the audit committee concurrently with the management assertion regarding the system of internal control. Quality assurance and improvement program. This is a very important aspect when managing the internal audit team. The quality assurance and improvement program designed to enable the evaluation of first conforming with the definition of internal audit, the code of ethics and the standard, including timely corrective action to remedy any significant instance of non-compliance or non-conformance. The quality assurance and improvement programs, it's an important aspect that needs to be considered. Why? Because it will keep up the right quality or the high quality of the proficiency of our team. So we need to run the quality assurance and improvement program all the time as an internal auditors to maintain the minimum or the highest level of quality. So first, this program need to evaluate the conformance with the definition, the standard, and the code of ethics. Also, they evaluate the adequacy of the activities charter of the charter, the goals stated in the charter, the objective, the policies and procedures we have it for our team. Also, evaluate the contribution to the organization governance, risk management, and control processes. So this program will ensure that the internal audit function is contribute to the organization governance, risk management, and control. In another way, it ensures that we add a value to the organization. Also, evaluate the compliance with the applicable law, regulations, and governance or industry standards. So this program need to consider the internal audit activities, if are they compliance with the law or not. Also, this program consider or enable the chief audit executive or the internal audit function to evaluate the effectiveness and efficiency of their activities, and also identifies the opportunities for any improvement. Lastly, evaluate the extent to which the internal audit activity adds value, and the extent to internal audit activity to improve the organization operation. The quality assurance and improvement program efforts also include follow-up recommendation. So we evaluate, and then this program need to include follow-up recommendation involving appropriate and timely modification of resources, technology, processes, and procedures. So we need to have inside this program a follow-up on recommendation. So like a procedures to ensure that our recommendation or our evaluation, we use it in a good way. Lastly, the use of technology to support the internal audit process. This is not a very new idea for you. It's something that you know it because you're people who born with technology. There are more and more technological tools that are available now. These tools enable increased productivity and efficiency. So, for example, imagine that if you need to copy anything 1,000 years ago, you will need to write it again using pen and paper. However, now we have machines that covers thousands of pictures in a very short amount of time. So the same applies for auditing. The technology let them use their time effectively and increase their productivity. It allows internal auditors to spend less time on administrative responsibilities. So, for example, administration responsibility, like, for example, fill out forms, sending emails, taking picture of some or taking copies of some invoices. Technology has improved in that part that led to spend less time on that responsibility. Also, technology since it provides less time on administrative, it gives us more time to spend on the assurance and consulting services provided. Also, less time spending on documentation, retaining the documentation, and accessing supporting documentation. As I told you now, and using technology, in like 10 years ago, we do not have like an iPhones, not 15 years ago, when we have copies of, or we need to have copies of some invoices, we need to go to scanning machine, take scans, and also we need the flash memories to send these or keep up these documents. Also, we need a backup for these documents. However, nowadays it's very easy. You can an auditors just in 2 minutes can take, or less than 1 minute, take a picture and upload it in on the iCloud, and that will keep the documents, and also will retain it, and also will be very easy to access from another auditors who could be living in another country. So technology provide us to spend less time in administrative responsibility, also in documentation and retaining and accessing the supporting documentation. Then because of that, we have more time to spend on the assurance and consulting services provided to auditee and customer. So I hope you enjoy this chapter. Inshallah, in the next week we will have the our ninth and 10th chapters of our course. Thank you for listening and have a good day.